Started with our final speaker of the evening, which is Maria Kondarko. She has been a certified yoga teacher since 2011. She believes it's important that we bring back classical yoga on the mat and in daily life. If it's taught in a proper atmosphere with a certain sense of humility and inclusiveness, it's a fantastic process of shaping your system into a fabulous vessel to bring more health and joy into your lives. She will be speaking about spirituality and taking a step within. So welcome, Maria.
Namaste, everybody. Even though I'm a yoga teacher, we're not talking about yoga tonight. We're talking about something that is in the core of the yoga philosophy, which is finding your different dimension, or finding a different dimension of life, which we identify as spirituality. I always like to start the story from the beginning. And what are we going to talk about tonight? We are talking about, we will be talking about peeling potatoes. That would be the essential topics of the night. But before we get to that part, peeling the potatoes, let's start from the beginning. Stop eating, drinking. Close your eyes. And let's try, imagine a small dot, a dense point. Try to stuff everything that you know about yourself in that dense point. It's gonna get pretty hot. It's smaller than the head of a pin. So try to stuff everything inside, everything about yourself, everything that you know, the whole universe itself. Try to keep it together for a couple of seconds. As you open your eyes, let it go out. So that would be the Big Bang. What we humans on this planet call the Big Bang. You can call it otherwise if you want, but that's what we know. We call it the Big Bang. It started at that point that I told you to imagine, and then exploded, because it was so dense that it had to go somewhere. So when that happened, somewhere out in the fringes of that Big Bang, there's these complicated little patterns. I do apologize for my accent. If you don't understand something, ask me. I'll spell it out. So somewhere out on the fringes of that Big Bang, we come to a play. We come as complicated human beings, way out in space and way out in time. We started as this. In Vedic scriptures, they call it the Om. Oof, that sound. You can call it any way you like. The God's particle, maybe. But that's what we are. Our problem is that we think we are complicated human beings, weighed out in the space and time, thinking that we're just this puppet at the end of the process, but we're not. We are still the process. We are still oming throughout the universe. So, sitting in this room, coming on to me as complicated human beings, as Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, you're still part of the process that we call Big Bang. In Vedic scriptures, it is believed there were 84 of them. We currently live in the 84th Big Bang. I'm not sure if that's true, but it feels like we have managed to detach ourselves from what we are. Not only as complicated human beings, believing that this is just the skin and that's it, but we went crazy. We separated ourselves with race, religion, social status, And then we went even more crazy, and we started separating each other through the types of cell phones that we have. I'm iPhone, you're BlackBerry, you're Galaxy. So the question after that would be, how have we become such a complicated human beings? We all strive towards well-being. So after we satisfy our basic needs for survival, shelter, food, clothes, we still strive, unlike the animals, for something more. And that more is what we call a well-being. That is depending on your currency, obviously. For some people it's clothes, for some people it's money, for some people it's knowledge. But regardless of how we define the well-being, we all strive towards the well-being. The problem came when we started believing that well-being is a pursuit of happiness. You see, everything that we have done is in a pursuit of happiness. We have managed to completely change the face of the earth so that we have all the commodities and comforts that not even our parents have or had. And yet, we are the most miserable generation of all times. Another question mark, why? Pursuit of happiness, that's the problem. You see, there are two aspects of the human mind. The first one would be the simple mind, but don't take it as simple as stupid, but the aspect of the mind that only preserves or perceives the reality that is in front of us. So doesn't have any aspects of the future, only looks at the reality of what's in front of it. So it lives in the now. Then we have this ingenious brain that picks up the stuff or uses the present that is experienced as memory. So if you ask yourself the things that you know, those are usually our prejudices, you haven't come up with anything. You're just recycling the memory of whatever you learned at school, whatever your parents told you, right? Your friends. So you're just recycling it. And it's usually something that you pick up from the past. And then you make certain predictions for the future. And in that cycle, the future that has no real elements in it is taking over your present. Thus the misery and stress. Thus the anxiety, obviously. When we perceive the future as something that cannot be felt, smelled, heard, or otherwise enjoyed, we're looking at the pursuit of happiness as this retrieving phantom. The more you chase it, the more it pulls away. So we can conclude that when we define happiness versus joy, happiness would be something that has artificial elements in it, or something that is not real, because it's not happening now. So it's just hopes, dreams, and excuses. That's it. How do we get out of it? There is I like to use a little bit of math sometimes. Is this the thing that I'm using? Can someone help me? I just wanna, I like to use math because it's a, oh my God, thank you. Complicated human being, eh? we're going to leave the part of the complicated human being, just so that you remember. Do not forget. So when it's mathematically deducted, we call it science. If you just believe in it, we call it religion. If you use certain tools to get to that, we call it yoga. Back to mathematics. The x and y axis, since we're on the subject of happiness versus joy. So when you were a kid, when you were 5 years old, you were constantly happy. It took a person or a certain event to make you sad. Now it's the other way around. You're constantly either depressed or mad or anxious. It takes a person, or it's usually a thing, like a new purse or shoes, to make you happy. So the more you pile up those things here, Michael Kors bags, 2 vacations, bigger house, bigger car, bigger TV, another TV. So the more you go up, you get detached from what's your natural blissful state, what we call joy, versus happiness. So this would be the happiness, this would be the joy. So the more you get away from where you feel grounded and secure, this is your bottle of milk, so to speak, the fear of falling down, meaning losing all those things that you have accumulated or bought over the years, gets bigger. That's where usually anxiety comes in play. We are afraid that we're going to lose everything that we have tomorrow, or in 2 weeks, or in 2 years. So we can also agree that this part here is full of antidepressants. And that's funny, I know. How do we get out of it? There are so many tools that you can use. I always start with the kitchen, because everything starts in the gut. So there are these beautiful tools of inner engineering. We have managed to engineer the exterior. Obviously, everything is fine and dandy on the outside, but we have forgot to do the proper inner engineering. Thus, the only way out would be turning in, metaphorically and literally, starting with your gut. It's pretty simple. So when you're mindful of the food that you're eating, you're mindful of the drinks, you're mindful of the music, you're mindful of the colors and the people around you, and you reconnect with the now, then this retrieving phantom of pursuit of happiness is not going to be there anymore. You see, because of the pursuit of happiness, because it's an abstract element, doesn't exist, is why our civilization rushes through the things. That's why rarely anybody is happy with what they have or appreciate what they have. So they keep on chasing that, I need more. And we know that more is, less is more. In a subject of spirituality, there are so many different aspects in it. I'm not going to use too big of words to explain it, because I just did. Spirituality is discovering another dimension beyond your physical aspect. Realizing that you're not a complicated human being, but your home itself, or the universe itself expanding ever and ever. You shed the body, obviously, but then you come back. It's that karmic cycle. I call it the karmic roller coaster, because everybody likes to come back here and do the same stuff over and over. It's sort of a high. But over time you'll get bored, and then you'll decide. You'll put a rag around you and live in the woods. Or not. Or not. What's the difference between, because there are a lot of confusion between a religion and spirituality, and I find that in the past decade, spirituality is ridiculed more than religion, for example. I'll get to the part where I'm explaining why. When we say religion, that's already established belief system. So you're not seeking anything, everything is there for you. So you believe in something that you don't know. On the other hand, when you realize that you don't know, you become a seeker. Becoming a seeker means that you have started a spiritual process or spiritual path. So you're going to become a spiritual person when you eventually break the bond with this plane of existence, this three-dimensional planet Earth. So anybody who says, oh, I'm spiritual, not quite. You might be in a spiritual process, everybody is, on different pace, different values. But when you decide that you're ready to break the bond, or the attachment, or the illusion of this world, you have passed all the exams of the university here, then you will be able to say, okay, it's time. I'm gonna back the source, merging with the source. Call it creator, God, whatever you want to call it, because science has already established that everything is one energy. So whether you say God is everywhere or everything is one energy, it's one and the same. So we can use whatever words we want as long as we agree on this, that we come from the same pool of energy. So when you become a seeker, you become a spiritual aspirant. So you went through the 3 phases of a lotus flower, for example. That's the most significant symbol of yogic philosophy. That's how the chakras are usually represented, with lotus flowers. You go through 3 phases. First is ignorance. That's when you're chasing this pursuit of happiness. The second one, you become an aspirant. You realize that you want to seek something. And then you become enlightened human being, which is very hard to attain. Throughout the history, we've seen, heard, and read about a lot of people that have done it. There are still people that live in Tibet, for example, that are enlightened. They just do their job. They peel the potatoes. Going back to my point of the peeling potatoes. Because making a vague definition of what spirituality and using big words is not going to help anybody. That's why I would like to use words or stuff like peeling potatoes. A Zen master was once asked, so what is spirituality? And he just gave this person 20 pounds of potatoes and he said, peel it. And he said, okay, so now I'm going to peel the potatoes and I'm going to think about the creator. He said, no. You're just going to peel potatoes. That's spirituality. Or another one maybe closer to us. What do you do before become a spiritual aspirant or a seeker? You fetch water and you chop wood. What do you do when you become enlightened or spiritual? Chop wood and fetch water. That's it. No big words. No special prayers needed. Reconnecting with now would be what everyone should be doing as a first step. Everything else is just shades. That's it. Any questions on spirituality or potatoes? As long as you have a lot of thinking to do, that's a good thing. Why spirituality is ridiculed? I believe that a lot of people have taken upon themselves to teach spirituality or spiritually related subjects such as yoga or Reiki, crystal healings, all kinds of things. But the problem is that they are doing it in uncommitted environment. What was your name? Lisa. Lisa mentioned earlier about how people want to do Reiki 1, 2, and 3 in a weekend. So same idea. People want to become a yogi in 7 days or become a teacher in 21 days. I understand why it's ridiculed. So whoever is out there, if you don't know the principles of any practice, spiritual practice, don't commit yourself, because you have no idea what you're committing to. But if you know, if you have done your homework, now it's easy to do it, because our gadgets like computers and internet are available to everybody. Just do your homework. That's a seeker, that's a spiritual seeker. You know that you don't know, just like Socrates. I know that I don't know, so thus I seek. And that's how you should go through life or lives. You should be seeking, forever seeking. One of my favorite gurus, but this is a real guru, not a fake one, always tells a story about happiness versus joy. I always tell it to my students on my classes. On this day on a farm, there was a bull and a pheasant just minding their own business. The bull was grazing upon the grass, and this pheasant walks around and complaining how, or reminiscing about the days when he was a real bird and he was able to fly. And now we can't do it anymore. If you don't know, pheasants don't fly, they just walk. They have wings, but they don't use them. So the bull, older and wiser, decided to play a joke on the pheasant and said, I'll tell you what, if you eat my dung for 3 days, you will be able to fly on the 3rd day up on that high tree. So the pheasant was hesitated a little bit, but then he was so desperate to chase this, and he decided to eat the shit from the bull. And it was true. On the 3rd day, he was able to fly, went up on the highest tree, but at the same time, the farmer was sitting on the porch and thinking, oh my God, like, this pheasant is losing its mind, like something is wrong with this animal. So he took the shotgun and shot it down, like killed it. No applause needed right now. Just to hear the moral of the story. Taking bullshit from anybody will take you somewhere, to your whatever happy moment it is. But it's not gonna last long. You're gonna fall very, very fast. So don't take anybody's bullshit, especially not yours. Do not try to bullshit yourself into happiness. There is no such thing. Try to find the right tools for yourself, reconnecting with now. It's very simple. Start peeling potatoes. That would be the moral of the night, I guess. I know it seems really simple, but it is. People think it's very complicated to start anything in your life, bettering yourself or making yourself healthy. It's not. It's pretty simple. You don't need a personal trainer. You don't need a spiritual guidance. You just need yourself. And if you're looking for a motivation, what better motivation than your own life? Like if you have high blood pressure, you know what to do. You don't need a spiritual guidance to tell you what to do. Just go into your cupboards, clean them out. Same as your refrigerator. Start going out on the streets, because I see people driving their cars to the gym so that they can walk on the treadmill. You can walk on the streets better. The atmosphere is better, especially now. Not with the rain, obviously, but spring. So the tools are there if you know how to reach out for them. It's a very simple process. You're not a complicated human being. You are so simple. The nature or the creator intended for you to work or function 100% at all times, regardless of what's happening. Because if something is off, then the body knows how to repair itself. Any questions? No? Find your tools. Tools are there for inner transformation. Yoga has the beautiful tools if you know how to practice it and how to take it off your mats and do it through your daily life. It's very simple. I'm not saying this just because I chose yoga, but because everybody is a yogi in one way or the other. Without you knowing, you are practicing a certain type of yoga in your life right now, without even knowing about it. So start curing yourself. Be your own doctor. Our health system is not there to help us. You are your doctor. Namaste.